Before you go any further, look below and click the subscribe button. Hello, welcome to Savvy the Business Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Ambers, and I have Janene Liston on with us today. She calls herself the pricing lady. So we're going to have a chat to see what that really means and what are you doing that you should be doing with your pricing as an entrepreneur. So thank you, Janene, for coming on and joining us this morning.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
Thank you. So before we get started, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio and then we'll jump right in.
Excellent.
Janene is a highly trusted value and profit expert working with small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs across industries and the globe. She is a certified pricing professional and entrepreneur and a European public speaking champion with more than 20 years experience in product management and pricing. During her corporate years, she led pricing transformation projects and pricing teams in large multinationals. While recovering from a burnout, she decided it was time to use her expertise to help small businesses and startups. Her mission is to help small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs build the right pricing strategies, effectively implement those strategies, and build more sustainably profitable businesses. Her approach is practical and simple, and her passion for pricing is contagious. 60% of small businesses are either barely breaking even or operating at a loss. Pricing is either helping or hurting your business. What is it doing for your business? So tell us, how did you get into, what pricing? And I didn't know that you could get certified as a pricing professional, but how did that all come about to say, okay, I am the pricing lady?
Yeah. So, I got into pricing sort of by accident. I got the name, was actually quite a funny story, but let me start with the first part. So I started my career as an engineer designing buildings, actually. And after about 3 years, decided it wasn't what I wanted to keep pursuing. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I ended up in a company and wound my way around into product management. What attracted me was that I was dealing with big, large systems, and it was international business. That's what really drew my attention to it. And one of the first things they did when I got the product line was hand me a price list, and it was 20 years old. And there was something about that just didn't sit right with me. We did some really great things while I was with that company with the pricing, because we realized we needed to make a big difference. But I was doing it from the context of being a product manager. I came over to Switzerland then with that same company. And when I decided to stay in Switzerland was when I got a full-time job as a global pricing manager, and then got my certification. So I really it was through this product management and that side of the business that I got into pricing, really.
Wow. So when you got into pricing, well, wait, let's back up.
Yeah.
You decided to stay in Switzerland. I just have to hit on that. What was that thing that said, I'm not going back?
It's really funny. It was a heart decision, is the best way that I can put it, because the decision itself defied all logic. I had no job offers in Switzerland, and the company said that if I wasn't moving back to the US, I didn't have a job with them anymore. So they took the apartment back and the car back, and I had no home and no job. I had 3 job offers in the States. And yet I decided to stay here and keep looking, basically, until the very last minute when my permit ran out, my residency permit. And in the nick of time, I found a job with Siemens, which is a large multinational, and not as well known in the States as it is in Europe. But they do everything from blenders to large, let's say, electrical power plants and things like that. And that was where I started my career as a pricing expert as well.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. But yeah, like you say, it's like, okay, they're taking everything back. I'm almost going to be homeless in just a minute. I need to
I,
fix it.
I spent 7 months living on friends' sofas during
Wow.
that
But you know
period.
what?
Yeah.
It paid off and you
Yeah.
wanted to stay there. And, I don't know if it's as beautiful as I see it on TV. I've never been there, but I can only imagine.
It's a beautiful place. It's been here. I've been here now 20 years, which I still
Oh,
can't believe. Yeah.
wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So, as pricing, for a major corporation,
Mhm.
what enticed you about small business entrepreneurs? Is it
Mhm.
because you were venturing into that yourself? Or what did you see to say, you know what? I need to do this and start helping businesses with their pricing structures?
Right. So for me, there were a couple of things that were going on. As you mentioned in the bio, I went through a burnout and I was trying to figure out, what do I want to be when I grow up? This was 2014, 15. And I knew that I really loved pricing, but that it didn't have to be pricing, because what really motivates me and just makes me happy, makes my heart sing, if you will, is seeing people transform. And I've taught math, science, and engineering to children and saw how excited they get and how they transform from, oh, the science is boring, to, oh, this is really cool. I've done it with public speaking coaching, helped people who didn't feel they had the skills to be able to speak in front of a group really flourish in doing so. I've done it in pricing as well. And it's that transformation, the light bulb moment that I love to see people going from this I can't manage attitude to I can do this and I can do this really well. And so when I was going through the burnout, I thought, okay, what do I want to do? And I said, well, I want to keep being in a space where I can bring that transformation to people. And I love pricing, and pricing brings so much value to companies. And you can even calculate it 9 times out of 10 what it does bring. And there's not a lot of people who do it. So let's put those together and take it to a group that wouldn't normally have access to pricing specialists. Yeah, so most of the pricing consultants out there are actually really focused on large multinational companies. And I wanted to help small business owners be more sustainably profitable.
What do you see with small businesses that they're not doing when it comes to their pricing?
I would say one of the high level things that they're not doing is that their understanding of what it is, they feel like it's an activity they do once when they release a product. And I always say pricing is a way of being or behaving in your business, because everything you do, every business decision you make has an influence on it. If you're selling a product or a service, that influences your prices and what you do with them and how you work with them. If you sell to this target group or another target group, it influences. If your cost structure changes, if you relocate your business, all of these things can have an influence, and usually do, on your prices or how you deliver them, or the perception of value that a customer has, and therefore what they're willing to pay for it. So it's actually a way of being in your business, because you're aware of, this is the decision I'm thinking I'm making. These are the consequences. Am I okay with that from a profitability standpoint? Do I need to change something with my pricing? So
Wow.
it's a very different mindset in that context.
But that makes a lot of sense of, looking at that. And I think the other thing too to tap into is revisiting your pricing, frequently,
Yes.
not only based on the market, but your services. Say if it's something that you're doing and you've gotten better at it, or you're certified now, or you've added certain things. So it's a
Yep.
lot of different things to look at when you have pricing. It's not a one done type of thing.
Right. It's not static.
Right.
Right. It really isn't. And why is that? Because the things that it's based upon, your customer, your cost structure, the marketplace, the value perception, it could even be local regulations depending on your business. All of those things change over time. So it stands to reason that your prices might need to change over time as well.
How often would you say someone needs to revisit that?
Right. So usually it depends on the business. I would say most businesses, and we need to leave software as a service off to the side for this, but most businesses, you would say at least once a year, you take a heavier look at it. But if you wait one full year to decide if something's working or not. So let's say you change something in January and you don't look at it again until December. That means you go the whole year potentially using something that's not quite fit for purpose anymore. So I would say a light check quarterly and a heavier check once a year when you're changing prices. Now, it doesn't have to mean that you actually make changes all those times. But the idea is that you're constantly kind of keeping one eye looking out for that. Now, something like software service as a service or retail or the travel industry, those are going to usually be changing more frequently.
With the way technology is today, um, I won't even say today, it's going to change tomorrow. I mean, that's just what it is.
Right.
It's here, it's not going anywhere, it's here to stay. And even more so post-COVID, it's going to grow rapidly. It already has, but it's going to be even quicker now, because that's where a lot of organizations are shifting to, because of the remote and hybrid opportunities that they're starting to do now. We still have those that still, all right, come back to work. We've always done it this way. No need to remote hybrid. And those companies, they're going to feel it a little later. But for the ones that are shifting, understand what's going on right now and looking at these different systems, me being heavy in processes is, it's always about what works specifically for your business, not what your colleague is using, or this person said it works good or it's cheap. What works specifically for your business and your team, of course, depending on how many people you have on your team, but being heavy in that with processes and revisiting those systems and looking at what you have to do and all of that. Would you say that that should also be a factor when you're looking at your pricing?
What, the processes you mean?
Yeah. So as you're shifting and redoing your processes, you have these packages with whatever in these packages. Now, your process may change in the sense of you're not doing as much to do certain things because of whatever system that you have. Now, based on that, does that mean now that I'm not doing as much, I should lower my prices, keep them the same, or increase them?
Over here, we'd say gute Frage. Good question in German. So this is you asked me, one of the first questions you asked me was, what's one of the mistakes people make? And I went really broad with my first answer. Well, here's another answer that you bring into this. So that is a mindset that comes from a primarily time-based thinking around your pricing. And I always tell people, time is just the wrapper your services are delivered in. It's like the cereal. You don't buy the cereal because of the box. You buy it because of the cereal, because you like Lucky Charms or Cheerios or whatever cereal you like. And so just because you've gotten more efficient internally in your business doesn't necessarily mean that you should lower your price. That efficiency may actually be of value to the customer. So you being able to deliver the work faster is actually of value most of the time. So in some ways, you might even have the potential to charge more, not less. But I think most people would assume they should charge less. But again, that's because they're thinking it's taking me less time and effort, or I don't have as much cost because I'm not using all the same tools I did before. Therefore, I should charge less. What I would implore people to do is think about the value that they're delivering people, and that be the basis of your pricing, the efficiency and the time being something that you look at in the background. So it's more of a check. I call it cost and profit check, but you check to make sure, okay, yes, I'm working efficiently. Yes, this covers my basic costs. And yes, I can be profitable overall. But the pricing itself is more going to be positioned based on the value, with one exception, which I should mention, unless you're trying to be the low price leader in a market.
I like that. That's what I was looking for. I like that. So and that was the thing, is value. And I've heard some people with that scenario, and that's kind of why I asked that, is, oh, I'm not doing as much because now I have this system, I can do XYZ and it's not taking me much time. I'm like, well, that's just the opposite of what you should be doing. You don't drop your price because you're not doing. So offering that value, once you understand that, and you know that is the value that you have, it could be tricky. So what tips do you have for someone to reevaluate, to really understand their value, and once they get that, pricing it accordingly?
Right. So I use something I call the show me the money matrix when it comes to assessing value. And basically, it's four quadrants. And what we do is we ask ourselves 4 questions, and then we try to quantify. And the quantification is really important. So the 4 questions, or the 4 quadrants, are: how do I help my customer reduce risk? How do I help them improve quality? How do I help them gain economic efficiency, which is time or money? And then I always forget one of the 4. So risk, quality, and how do I help my customer be more competitive? Now, not all 4 will always apply to every business. And depending on, so let's say you're somebody who's a personal shopper. Maybe competitiveness isn't really what your customer is seeking, unless they're looking for a new job to work at Louis Vuitton. Then they need to look their sharpest. And of course, that will help them be more competitive, right? So you keep in mind, not all 4 apply, but what you want to do is you want to take that and quantify it. So let's say you do the quantification and you find out that your customer could be earning another, $10,000. Let's just pull a number, an easy number to divide and multiply by, right? And let's say that they can earn about that much each year. So let's say over a 3-year span, they could earn $30,000. If you're charging $5,000, that's a pretty good deal to invest $5,000 and get a return of $30,000 or more over 3 years. Most people, if you told them, give me $5,000 and I'll give you back $30,000, would try to find the $5,000 to give, right? So what it does, and this works with smaller numbers, bigger numbers, what this does is it helps put your price into context. Now, if you were charging $30,000 and they only earn $5,000 out of it, that might not seem so great unless it was $5,000 a month. Because then within a few months, they could have that return on the investment. So what you're trying to do by looking at the value and quantifying it is you're trying to put your price into the perspective of what value they're actually going to get out of it. And you're trying to do that in a very concrete way.
Okay, we're going to have you do an illustration, ma'am. So, because I know once people, go and they look at this interview, they're going to be trying, write and catch everything. Oh, stop, rewind, and catch everything that you're saying. But that visual is what's going to really,
Right.
put them in that right mindset.
Right.
So how did you come up with the 4 quadrants? Is it just through your processes and what you've done? How did you come up with that process?
It came to me, I think when I was working in the corporate world, we developed it one day. We were giving a value selling workshop on something, and for a different, forget who, I was think for a sales team. And we're like, okay, we need a way to help them. We wanted to do a workshop where the sales team developed the value argumentation. And that's what we started using. I did not mention one thing. There's actually a circle in the middle, which are the intangibles, which are the things you can't really quantify, but that do have value. And this comes into play when you're talking about things like artwork, when you're talking about things like premium brands like your Gucci or I don't know, I don't buy very many of them. But sorry, you're muted.
Am I muted?
There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what. Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, so I was saying like your Gucci or your Louis Vuitton or Tesla or something like that. It's hard to really, there's a lot in the brand and the name that isn't quantifiable. So that's what the circle in the middle is.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, that visual is going to be really good. So anyone that's listening to this, I know you're hearing it and you're probably not quite getting it until you write it down. But this is some really good information on trying to get to that to the space where you need to be. And just always keep in mind, it's not about your competitor or your colleague. It's your business. So you really have to evaluate that thing and be realistic too. That's the other thing. I see, some business owners is, of course, we see where we want to be and what we want to look like, but not being realistic into what it is like right now and today. So be realistic on whatever that is. And definitely at the end of this, we're going to have all of Janene's information so you can call her directly. And when you talk to her, you need to be transparent, very transparent as well, so she can really help you. What else is it that, so many people are, they're not aware of? And just don't know what to do. Sometimes it's, I'm sure you've heard the saying, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So of course, you're not going to ask those questions. What are some of those things that somebody may not know or know to ask?
Yeah, no, this is great. So one of the things that we can talk about is that most business owners, especially small business owners, spend more time, energy, and effort trying to figure out how to lower their prices as opposed to increase them or at least even hold them. Okay. And let me share with you how I know this. And I encourage everybody to give this a try at home. Sit down and set the timer for 1 minute, and then make a list of all the ways you can think of to lower your prices. Then once the timer goes off, set it for a second minute and make a list of all the ways you can think of to raise your prices. And usually after about the second list, after about 2 people, most people have tapped out. And with 3, almost everybody is out of ideas. And this shows me that, we're really focused on trying to lower our prices. And the reason that people do that is because they feel uncertain. They're trying to avoid the risk of hearing no. And part of the reason that we think that that's what we need to do in order to get the sale is because we've learned that from being consumers. If you look at the retail world, they're trying to move inventory. And especially in the US, they're trying to move it quite quickly. right? If you think of clothes shopping, for example, you got seasons, you got to get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out. So it's high price, low price, high price, low price. It's just constantly. And then the prices even get lower, lower over time, right? And we learn that from the retail world. The problem is that that's not sustainable for most small businesses. And it's not going to help you build profit, which is going to allow you to reinvest it back into the business and then bring more to your clients and customers and reinvest. And it's not going to give you that sustainability. So I think what most people with small businesses, again, unless you're trying to run an economy-based strategy and be the low price leader, what most people need to do is focus on how can I hold and occasionally raise my prices? And how can I do that without scaring off all my customers? Because that's what people's worry is about raising their prices. And I see this all the time. And the best example is Black Friday. And we're coming up to Black Friday. Yes. Now, in the retail world, there may be, it started for a good reason. It's effective. But when I see coaches and yoga studios and places like, businesses like that offering Black Friday sales, it makes my skin crawl. Because chances are, the discounts that they're getting, that they're granting, they will never make more money with the pickup in sales, because they would have to make so many more sales, such a huge volume of sales in order to make that up.
Wow, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's what people are doing. Like, okay, let me offer this sale so I need business. And especially right now, people are trying to recoup, get back in, and things like that. So for people like that, your coaches and yoga studios that's offering, wanting these clients, because, we're trying to, get back in. Would you say that instead of offering the services off of the actual service itself, yoga or coaching, to, see what else you can offer with that, like some extra consulting, or have a product, a t-shirt, hat, water bottle, whatever, offer something like that as a promotion instead of the service itself?
If they feel they have to offer something, which I would argue that they have to.
Yeah.
But if they have to offer you something, then from a profitability standpoint, it probably, and I want to be careful here because I can't do the math for everyone in my head right now, but they'd probably be better off adding a little bit of cost into the business rather than lowering the price. And here's why. There are only 4 things that affect profitability in any business: price, volume, fixed cost, and variable costs. Price has the biggest impact. So if you lower your price by 10%, it will have a bigger impact on your profits than if you increase your fixed or your variable costs by 10%. And that's that. So the only reason I say that is because of the math behind profit. But in reality, the reason that people offer, that Black Friday was originally developed, was to get people into stores to start buying for Christmas. So it was actually about shifting inventory. And I think that these other small businesses that we're talking about, they aren't doing the same thing. Yes, they're trying to get more customers, but if you have a product, let's say you sell a product and that product has 35% gross profit. Gross profit, I don't assume everybody knows what that is, but if you have a product that you sell for 100 and the cost to manufacture that product is 65, then your gross profit is 35. It's just 100 minus the 65. I think I did the math right. Right?
It's math. It's that thing.
It's math. It's just simple math. Right. But so let's say you have this product, you sell it for 100, the gross profit is 35. If you decrease the price by 10%, you have to sell 33% more volume in order to break even. That should make your head explode. That is an enormous amount of volume. Where is it going to come from? And when the competitor sees you lowered your price, are they going to match it or go further below? And are you going to be able to keep whatever additional volume you got? All big questions. And I've only seen it work a few times in the businesses that I've worked with, because it is very difficult to get that additional volume and to sustain. And that's just to break even. That's not to earn more money.
Wow. Look, if I had an audience here, it's like you can almost hear a pin drop.
Well, and it should. And
Yeah.
what's exciting about this, Melissa, before we move on, what's exciting about this is if you raise the price of that product, that 35% gross margin product, by 10%, you can lose 25% of your volume and still break even.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right. So even with that, because like I said, you have to have the illustration. And if you have that illustration for somebody where they can watch that and see that, that is the reason that they have to contact you to understand what that is. And if they can understand what that is, and that's just going to take, you're giving all of this right now in the interview, and it's like you said, it's one of those moments, right? But until they actually work with you and understand what that is, and specifically, okay, your business is here, and you start doing all the math and everything. This is a reason that you need to contact Janene. Okay.
Well, my goal is to help people to start to think differently about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think almost any business out there, unless you're trying to be a low price leader, almost any business out there should be able to sustain a 10% price increase without being afraid that their customers are going to leave. And if they can't, then there's either a mindset problem or they're not positioned properly in the market.
Yeah. Okay, all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna try to bribe her to do some type of illustration so we can have it on here.
Well, for the I do have a kit on my website. It's something they can opt in for, and it has the tool that shows them the 35% with the 10% discount. Yeah, it's on my pricing toolkit. So we can put that in
we'll have a link and we'll put it on here so you can go straight there and do it. So, wow. We can have a 2-hour talk about this stuff.
We could. I think the real goal, as I said, is to help people to kind of stop for a moment and think differently about what you're doing with your pricing and what it means to your business. Yeah, I'm not encouraging anybody to take advantage of their customers or to chase after profit at any cost. But in order for your business to be there, and I am speaking collectively to listeners and everyone out there, for your business to be successful over the long term, you have to have a healthy profit picture.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, you're so right. This is a good conversation. It really is. But we only have so much time. So maybe we could come back and do another one or something else to really, get, the audience involved in this. But let everyone know how they can reach you, go to your website. And like I said, I get the link, and we're going to be sure I have the link at the end of this video so you can go opt in for that gift that she have for you.
Yeah. So you can find me at the Pricing Lady. That's pretty much what I'm called everywhere I go these days.
Can't forget that one. So
well, it's easier than my to remember my first name and how to spell it. So
yeah, you can't forget that, the Pricing Lady. So no, I love it. So thank you so much for having this conversation. I mean, wow. It's like, okay, let's keep going, but okay, I know we're limited. So thank you again. And audience, I'm gonna have the information for you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, so much.
To take advantage of the free gift, go to thepricinglady.com/pricing tools. And for the opt-in, go to thepricinglady.com/goodies. Follow us on our Instagram at SavvyMagBiz and on our YouTube channel, Savvy, the Business Podcast. Do you want your business in front of an international audience? Advertise with us today. Savvy, the Business Podcast. Send us an email at media@savvymag.biz. That's media@savvymag.biz. Send it today. Don't get left out. Thank you for joining us on Savvy, the Business Podcast. If you want to be a guest, send an email to media@savvymag.biz. That's media@savvymag.biz. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be heard by millions.